It is 10:03. Welcome, everyone. Happy New Year. Welcome to our board and strategic planning meeting. We're going to start with our roll call. So, Taylor, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yes, 1 second. Also, it won't let me turn on my video, but I will turn it on if I can.
I made you co-host, so you should be able. That's weird.
Okay, now it's
There
there.
you are.
So sorry, it went into full screen mode, so now I can't see the roll call. 1 second.
Bhutan, do you have it? You can go ahead and do it.
Yeah, sure. Let's do the roll call. January 21st, 2023. George Brazil.
Present.
I got it.
Garcia.
Julissa Garcia.
She's present. She's on the phone.
Hutan Hamadani.
I'm here, present.
Carol Lambkins is not present. Patricia Johnson.
Present.
Karen Menches.
Present.
Deborah Ogden. Not present. Nilofar Rezvanpour.
She won't be in at the meeting today.
And then Taylor Studd, I'm present. Linda Thomas.
She's stepped down, so she's.
Oh, okay. And then Christiana White.
Yeah, Christiana Brero here.
Oh,
Oh. I don't know how this keeps happening. I change it every time, and then I use an old one.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you.
It's a fantastic reminder of my ex. Just that's all. Thank you.
Oh,
Sorry, I apologize.
and so we do have quorum, correct?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So we need a motion to approve candidate for CCIDC Board of Directors to fill the independent director seat. I need a motion for Catherine Hampton, please. And if anybody looks on their board packet, it lists, or do you want me to just make this motion? Rose?
You can make the motion.
Great. I make a motion to approve Catherine Hampton as a candidate to fill the open independent designer director seat to sit on the CCIDC Board of Directors for a first term of 3 years and a subsequent second term of 3 years should the candidate wish to continue. I need a second.
I second.
Wonderful. Any discussion? Catherine, do you want to unmute yourself and just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yes, I think I'm unmuted, right?
Yep.
So I'm Catherine Hampton. I am based in Los Angeles. I have my background is primarily in corporate and workplace and retail, commercial spaces. I have my own firm, K2S Studio, and that is what we are focused on, although we're starting to branch out into some multifamily and housing type projects. And I'm thrilled to be a part of this. You know, the independence of being able to practice without an architect means, you know, it makes all the difference for my profession. So I want to help fight for that for all of us. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. And Catherine's been very involved with our IDEX review, and having sat with her through several meetings, she is incredibly knowledgeable, and I'm glad to have your interest on sitting on this board. So let's take a vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
perfect. All opposed? And any abstentions? Great. Well, welcome, Catherine. We're excited to have you here. Taylor, I'm going to let you take a revised roll call.
Oh, you're muted, Taylor.
Yeah,
Sorry.
now I gotta find my packet again. Sorry, I'm on my work computer because I'm at work, and so
No
it's
worries.
a little tricky, but we're gonna get there. Okay, George Brazil,
Present.
Julissa Garcia,
Present.
Hutan Hamadani,
Present.
Catherine Hampton,
Present.
and Carol Lampkins is not here. Patricia Johnson,
Present.
Karen Menches,
Present.
Deborah Ogden, not present. Milo Farr is also not present. Taylor Studd, I'm here, and then Christiana Barreto.
Fantastic. All right, we're gonna move on to, we have 2 meeting minutes to approve. And I'm gonna turn this over to you, Taylor.
So sorry. Okay, so I make a motion for the board to approve the June 4th, 2022 annual board meeting minutes. And
And-
can I
sorry,
get
go
a
ahead.
second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Fantastic. And then we need to do the same, sorry, it's not in our packet. Oh no, it is, sorry.
Okay, I make a motion for the board to approve the September 17th, 2022 board meeting minutes. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Fantastic, thank you, Taylor. Moving on to the treasurer's report. Christian.
That would be me, huh? Okay. So for December 31st, 2022, we had in the bank just a little over $58,000. And our total income for last calendar year, sorry, excuse me, my allergies are acting up. Total income for last year was $246,995. Our total expenses were $260,629. So that put us a little bit under with a net loss of $13,634. Any questions about that so far? Okay. So our budget for 2022, our total income goal was 263,000. And like I said before, we had 246,995, so like just about 247,000. So we were about 16,000 shy of our goal for last year. For income. And then our expenses, we had total expenses, our budget total was 260, and we were at our budget of 260. Any questions with regards to our budget? Or comments, Rose?
Yeah, so question, under our income, where it, obviously the shortcoming, is it from renewals? Is it from lack of
Most of
signing up for the?
it is renewals.
Okay.
And also, yeah, so it's early renewals and then also certification renewal fees. So it's mostly renewals.
Okay.
Right, and there's two other things. We had an unexpected move last year, and we also had an unexpected
Yes.
change in staff, so our budget, I mean, expenditure wise was a little bit more than normal. So there's that factor. And as far as not having as many renewals, the economy has affected a lot of people, and we've heard about that a lot too. So we just have to really, when we did the budget for this year, we just kind of tightened it in, even though more people are expected to pay. We just want to make sure that we're not, this is the first loss we've had in a while, and we've tried really hard not to have it. So I think that's about why.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. I think that's it, right, Rose?
Yes.
We do have a budget to approve. Rose, do you want to comment on that, or do you want me to just go ahead and move into?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Is there any questions or comments, or?
You need to make the motion first to approve the
I
budget.
will.
We don't comment on it until the motion's made.
Oh, okay. So then I make a motion for the board to approve the proposed 2023 budget.
Need a
Anyone
second?
A second.
Now we can discuss it.
Now we may talk about any questions or comments about the 2023 budget.
Well, can you sorry to put you on the spot. Is it possible for you to sort of highlight maybe what's changed between 22 to 23 as far as the budget goes? Are there any sort of big numbers that have shifted anywhere that, just so we know?
I think that, so when we do the budget, we look at how many people are expected to renew and to that sort of thing for the year. And we went much more conservative because we have that big year, small year kind of deal. And this is going into a big year, but we kept it conservative because the economy is, kind of questionable right now. Conservative, fortunately.
Is that me or is that you?
No, I lost her too.
I think that's
Okay,
Rose.
good. All right, well, we can continue until Rose gets back. Christiane, do you see any
Different categories?
Oh, Rose, you completely,
Disconnected.
yeah. We lost you for.
We heard
Can you hear me now?
nothing of what you
Yes.
just
Yes.
said.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. What I was saying is the big year, small year. Did you guys hear that? I don't know how far
No.
back.
We heard that and that was it.
Oh, okay. So the budget is broken down into sections, as in like our early renewals, our registration fees, our IDEX fees. It's broken down, and we kind of go off of what's been done in the past, but people change. There's people that sometimes will get a digital stamp, other times they want a regular stamp, sometimes they want both, sometimes they want just basic. So it's really hard to gauge that based on past examples. So sometimes you'll see that we budget for 20 of something and we get like 50, where in early renewals, we budgeted 150, but we only get 100. So it's, we get close. It's just it's a guessing game on what people are going to do and how they do it, because they don't stay the same. It's not like, okay, I always get a digital stamp, so I'm always going to get a digital stamp. People change. They're like, you know what? Now I'm working for a big corporation. I don't need a stamp, so now I'm going to do basic. Well, a couple of years later, it changes. So it's really a challenge to guesstimate. I kind of think that putting the overall basic number is a little more accurate for us, and then breaking it down when we do the reporting. That's just so we were conservative in our reporting this year. Hopefully it'll be better, and we'll do well Is there any questions about that?
Just a comment on the expenses on the expense sheet. You have an actual year to date and it's filled out. That just needs to be edited. That's all.
Oh, thank you. I
Yes.
will
No
change
worries.
that. Awesome. I will get that changed. Thank you for noticing that. Okay. We could take a vote if
Alright.
there is no more questions.
Okay. And I'm gonna assume that this is supposed to be a motion to approve the 2022 financial statements?
No, sorry.
No, we need to
still
vote on the budget first.
2023
Oh.
proposed budget.
I thought we just did that. Sorry about that.
No, we just opened it up for discussion. And now we have to take the actual vote.
So, vote for the board to approve the 2023 proposed budget.
yes. So all those in favor? Say aye.
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 Melissa,
Opposed? Any abstentions? Awesome. That is passed. Okay. So now,
no-
Christian, yeah, sorry.
no,
Opposed.
Christiana, it's 2021. We haven't had our financials audited yet. So this is for the audited.
Got
financials.
it. Got it. Okay. Thank you. So I make a motion for the board to approve the audited financial statements for fiscal year 2021. Anyone second?
I seconded.
Great. Any discussion, questions, comments?
Just for the
Okay.
audience,
Yeah, thank you.
we have our financials audited by a private outside company every year. So they went through and there was nothing notable, no discrepancies, no issues that they found. So that's why we're voting. And then once we vote, it'll be, this information is always put up on our website once they're approved. Now we can vote.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Okay,
Awesome.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christian. Moving on to our compliance report.
That would be me.
That would
Let me
be
get to that. Hold on. Scrolling as fast as I can. All right. So total number of, as of January 1st, total number of current CIDs is 1557. No longer active 3554. Delinquent is 396. And again, just to let you guys know, the delinquent number doesn't really get counted in the expired or in the current because those people are fluctuating. And then total number certified is 5507. Again, you could see here the number of delinquents that we have. 111 people became delinquent in 2022. We don't have anyone on a payment plan at the time. There are 1,404 people that are expired. We have 78 people of those people were expired in 2022. We have 325 people that resigned. Of that, 48 of those people resigned because of business need, their business changed, they're no longer in business, etc. We have 219 people that resigned because they moved out of the area, and 58 people who resigned due to request. We have 1,754 people that are now retired, 71 people who are on our emeritus status. Unfortunately, we have 71 people who are no longer with us. And that's where we get our numbers from, the 1557 and the 3554. Is there any questions about that? Karen, you're making a face. Is there any?
No, I'm trying to read it without my glasses, but it's not working. Thank-
Right, we'll move on to the IDEX report if there's no other questions. We had 55 applications that were received in 2022. Of those, 33 have been approved and certified. We have 12 people who have passed the exam and they're pending their paying their payments to finish. We have 49 people who are Path 1. For anyone who doesn't understand, Path 1 people, they have enough requirements to be able to sit for the exam, but they don't have enough requirements to complete their certification yet. So we hold their information, their file, until they are able to provide us with the rest of the information to become certified. We have 207 people pending the examination. We have 46 of those people are pending additional documentation. We have 71 total people that have failed and need to retake the exam. There are 15 people who were no-shows and need to reschedule. We have 67 people that have finished all the requirements to take the exam, but they just haven't scheduled yet. And then we have, so far we have 8 people that have scheduled for the IDEX exam, but that's normal at this time of year. For the actual exam, for the October exam, we had 55 people total apply. There were 30 that registered for the exam. No one transferred. We didn't have anybody that wasn't attending. So 30 people took it. 15 of those people passed. So that's a 50% percentage passing rate. And then of those, 3 of them have already rescheduled to take the exam. So as most of you know, we rechanged the format and the questions of the IDEX exam, and we also changed the because of the question changes, we also changed the overall cut score. So the Measure Learning and Proctor U, who handles our psychometrics, I should say, they said it's to be expected when there's a change to notice a couple of periods that it would go down, the passing rate would go down, but they keep an eye on it and they'll let us know if we don't see any trends changing. So is there any questions about that?
No, just a comment. It's just such a huge drop from, 70% down to 50.
Right, but if you also consider we went from having 3 domains
Of
to
course.
11 domains.
Absolutely.
So it's a big change. It's not just a small change, it's a big change. So we'll see how that goes. Forgive me. No other comments. Someone's asking, do you think the IDEX and compliance reports reflective numbers that would be different if we were not affected by COVID? Definitely, I think that COVID has an effect on it. Fortunately, the things like studying and information and experience comes about in a non-COVID environment, I guess. Anybody else? Karen, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, when we were stuck in our homes and couldn't go anywhere and people are not in their regular routines, are going to not study as well or not study as much, I think. Everything's affected by COVID.
Yeah, definitely. And fortunately, we've been able to kind of weather some of that with the live online proctoring availability now. We definitely can reach out to people in their homes instead of having them go to a testing center and the fears of COVID that way. So we also have a Rochelle Kiklowitz says her students are so far behind in their learning that she doesn't have one student that would be qualified to take the exam. So that can also be affecting it too.
I've heard that from other instructors too. So it's not just her.
And we have suffered at least a 3-year loss in the development of new interior designers. So that's an interesting point. Okay, anything? we can go on to the next section.
Awesome. Next section is committee reports. We'll start with the marketing committee. That is my domain. So Rose and Cameron have been meeting very regularly this past year, and sort of strategizing, putting together an outreach program to the professional organizations. Rose has reached out to, I think, all of the ASID chapters. I have personally spoken with both of the Northern California chapters, and although they tell me they're excited to have us either do a Zoom presentation or in person, which is what I'm hoping. We have not scheduled anything yet, but we are keeping on it, and we'll be doing the same thing with IIDA and the other professional organizations, NKBA. And really this is to raise awareness about certification, what it means, and all the good things that come along with it, as well as what the costs are and that kind of thing. And in doing so, we are revising the presentation. And I would just like to say, anybody out there, either on our board or anybody listening, if this is something that you feel passionate about sort of sharing what certification is and what it means, and you're in an area maybe where our board is not, and you would like to volunteer to do presentations, even if it's via Zoom, please reach out to Rose. Let's see. One of the other things that we're working on is improving our social media outreach and our messaging there. We ended ties with one of the companies that we were working with that was doing our social media. And I believe, Rose, correct me, we're doing it in-house now for the moment, correct?
Yeah.
We are, yes.
Yes.
So that's something that we're going to be working on, and whether we hire out again or, Cameron is definitely very social media savvy. So hopefully we could have her continue with that. And that would be great. Obviously, it really comes down to the messaging and making sure that we're providing value with what we're actually posting. And there's a question here from Robert. Is there any way to reach out to the designers that not have joined in the past? I know several designers who have been in the field for years and have never believed they've needed to be certified. Thank you, Robert. Yes, that is a really great question. One of the things that we're going to be working on this year is really, how do we do that? And how do we sort of get an accurate number of how many interior designers there are in California? How many are certified? How many are professional members? What's our best way to reach these people? And what is the best and strongest message to get out there so people realize what the importance is and what the value is behind it? Because obviously, as professionals, the value is to make more money, right? The value is to be more desirable as a designer. So that's really what we are going to be focusing on. There's some recent and upcoming marketing and outreach events. Rose has really participated in that. So Rose, do you want to speak about the NKBA San Diego showcase and the ICC San Diego dinner?
Sure. In October, the San Diego chapter of NKBA had a showcase, and they've had it for years, and we usually always try to attend and be involved in that. We were actually there. I went, and it was great because participation in that, I was able to speak with the NKBA chapter representatives, and they asked me to speak at the January meeting, which I was able to do. And from there, I've been asked to speak at the Palomar, one of the Palomar College classes. So it's involvement in that and attending these things helps us to get that outreach going. And so I'll be on the 31st of this month, I'll be speaking to the Palomar class, which we haven't spoken to Palomar in a long time. It's great to have that connection and be able to do that. They've just, the class has just moved to a new building in Rancho Bernardo, so I actually am going to be physically going out to do that. But once they get everything set up, we'll be able to do that via Zoom. To answer also for Robert, this is something that's part of the marketing plan. We want to reach out to interior design companies, large and small, and I think that's how we're going to be able to reach the people who are not certified but are practicing. So if we're able to do these type of presentations there, that information gets out. So just want to say that. This last weekend, we also were involved in the ICC San Diego chapter installation dinner. Julissa is now the vice president of that chapter, which is amazing. We were sponsors of that event as well. It was a great place to network with local building officials and industry partners to kind of get the word about certification out there. I had some really great conversations with some of the local building officials about they're educated because we participate with this and they're able to share that information with other people. And I think that's great. I was fortunate enough to meet with the president of the Sacramento ICC chapter. And for those of you who don't know, CalBO is the large group of building officials, kind of like the professional organization for building officials in California. But the local chapters are sponsored by ICC, the International Code Council. So that's kind of like the splinter group and how we meet locally. So we try and be involved as many of those chapters as we can. But the president of the ICC Sacramento, it's called, I think, SACBO, has asked us to join, which is huge because we've been trying to do that for a long time, have representation in the Sacramento area at their ICC chapter. So it was really an exciting venture to meet him and have that opportunity. The next thing coming up is the ICC LA Basin chapter installation dinner. That's in February, something again we sponsor, and this is where we get to be face-to-face in front of the building officials in the LA area, the greater LA area. There's like 100 and some odd different groups represented in that. So we're looking forward to attending there. Hutan will be attending, I'll be attending, and we'll be able to get that information out. And then after that, the next thing is the CalBO annual business meeting. That is March 5th through the 9th. And we're looking forward to that. That's another place for us to go and network with building officials and get our word out there, get our message out there. So Julissa wanted me to bring up that we need more designers to be involved in ICC San Diego. If you're a designer in the San Diego area, they meet monthly. Currently, they're meeting via Zoom. I just highly recommend, I mean, there's no better way to get to know your local building officials than attending these meetings, becoming a member and attending the meetings. They're monthly, they're easy to attend, and you really do. Hutan, I think, can tell you, Julissa can tell you, this is, you know, if you have a problem, but you're attending these meetings, they know your face, they know you, you can go and speak to your local building official and just have a little bit more teeth with it. We have another comment. The messaging needs to be aimed at consumers and big employers, not designers. Designers are working just fine without paying for certification. Consumers and even the large architectural firms do not know about or care about the CID designation. Just to let you know, I think, Tracy, a lot of the big corporations do know about us. Disney Imagineering, Gensler, HOK, LPA, all of those, they actually pay for their designers to be certified. So yes, we need to get out there and get a wide and broader thing, but I don't agree with the comment that they don't know us. Maybe some of the people don't, but yeah, we need to target everyone. We need to expand that target. And Tracy, we would love to have you participate on the marketing committee. If you have ideas, we're open. We'd love to hear them.
Well, and I love Tracy's comment of reaching out to the consumer. I mean, I think that is that would be wonderful to be able to market to the consumer, to educate them on the importance of hiring a CID, right? So I think that's a brilliant suggestion, and I will second Rose's suggestion, Tracy, that if you have the time or the desire to sit in on our marketing meeting, you could join us. There's one coming up this Friday, the 27th at 3 p.m. On Zoom, and you could sign up on our website. And Tracy, we would welcome you to be there, or anybody that is listening in. That would be fantastic. We're going to go on to the next committee report, which is uniform plan submission. Huton and Patricia.
Yes, hello everyone again. Happy New Year to all of our friends and colleagues. Yes, the Uniform Plan Submission Committee, I think that's the most challenging committee that we are getting involved in. As everybody knows, that's the language changes. Finally, everybody, all the parties that involved in this committee, they accepted and approved the language. I think last time, Rose, you read the language to everyone. It's just helping CIDs to go through their submittal packages, going through easily to all the agencies, especially in Los Angeles area. We have a good news that we invited Calbo and AIA to be part of this meeting. I think it's going to be on next one, right? On the February, Rose?
February 14th, yes.
Yes, February 14. I saw the email that they accepted to be part of the committee, and it's really good, as Rose mentioned, just being in ICC chapters, we can see all these members and building officials. IIDA is part of this committee as well, and everybody accepted the language. I believe this coming Monday, Rose have a meeting with Ledger staff to find out what is the next step and what is the plan of action. Hopefully this year it's going to go through and they approve it. Rose, would you please just explain about your meeting on Monday?
Sure. So just again, a little to add on to what Huton said, we had proposed the language changes to the Ledge staff for the sunset review, and they wanted to use a different vehicle other than our sunset review to be able to put the language changes in. So they said, look at a January timeframe. So when we met again this time in January, we agreed that we would reach out. So I reached out to the staff in Sacramento and asked them to give us just a timeline and kind of what are the next steps? How can we look at getting this language proposed? And so that's what the meeting on Monday is to do, is just kind of get an idea of where we go from here. But yes, it's been important having, IIDA, Calbo, now AIA, and the Ledge staff involved in this process of the language changes or language amendments. So the Uniform Plan Committee has just been amazing in working on all of this, has worked hard to get this put together.
When everything goes by plan, when do you think they have a vote for the language?
Again, that's something I won't know until I have the meeting with Ledge staff on Monday. I don't have an answer to that. It's really up to them to be able to find the bill or the vehicle for us to put those language changes in.
Okay.
And also, in case anybody else didn't know, the language changes that we proposed, we went through bills that recently have passed in other states, and we use those as the basis to create the language changes. We just tailored it a little bit to California and things that we see and the challenges that we face here. So I think that we have some great language to be able to change our bill with, or our law with.
Yes, that's great. To be honest, everybody just work on it really, really hard. Our next meeting is gonna be Tuesday, February 14th at 4 p.m. If any
Anyone's
questions-
welcome to attend.
Yeah, everybody welcomes to be there, and if everybody has a question, we are just ready to answer. And Patricia, anything you want to add?
No, I think you did a great job of explaining what we're doing.
Thank you.
And
Awesome.
we have
All
a
right.
comment. We have a
Oh,
comment
sorry.
here from Rochelle. I think the value of certification is that it fortifies a designer's knowledge and confidence in dealing with not only interior designers' place in projects, but also requirements of other trades and how we can design and procure to support that side of the job. You could try to mandate it, but the value of certification is within each certified interior designer. And we don't want to come up to the line of the requirement of other exams. Just to say it that way.
Yes.
Karen, yes, all of the meetings are online. So on our webpage, www.ccidc.org, if you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see the different committees that you're available to join, and everything's open to the public. You guys are all welcome to join and participate and share your knowledge. We'd love to have you there.
Yeah, I think then, and next, the February 14 one is going to be so exciting because Calvo going to be there too.
Right. The goal with that is to have AIA, CC, Calvo, the other professional organizations participate in this whole process. And so they're understanding what we're doing and they're in agreement with it. That would be great. So we have, and I think that in the relationships that we've had in the past with some of the different organizations, it has been a little more contentious, but we have a great group of people working together and understanding. We put aside the things that we don't agree on, and we worked really hard to focus on the things that we can agree on, elevating the interior design profession and making things possible for interior designers in California. I think that that's our goal. So we've been able to do that. All right.
All right, let's move on to Legislative Committee. Karen.
Oh, that would be me. So I guess some of these are, let me see, some of them were introduced last month. And some of them may or may not affect designers, but I thought maybe they would, just to have someone know about them, they can understand them a little bit better. AB 38 is about light pollution control. And this is the Warren Alquist State Energy Resources Act that requires the State Energy Resources Conservation and Development Commission to adopt, among other regulations, lighting and other building design and construction standards that increase the efficiency in the use of energy for new residential and non-residential buildings. You can read all of this on the Assembly bills and the California legislature tidbits there. So tiny homes may be requiring fire sprinklers. Let's see, I'm going to do through this very fast. Greenhouse gas emissions, building materials and credit trading platform and compliance systems. This may be requires the State Air Resources Board by July 1st of 2025 to develop a framework for measuring and then reducing the average carbon intensity of the materials used in the construction of new buildings and those for residential uses. So be on the lookout for that. Energy response and trauma kits. Not familiar with that one. It would require a trauma kit in certain structures that are constructed prior to January 1st, 2023. And then these are Senate bills. Those were Assembly bills. These are Senate bills. Transportation zero emission vehicle signage. Building performance standards. That is to create performance standards for improvements in energy efficiency and reductions. This is ongoing for a lot of things that they're proposing. Tax incentives for solar canopies. So like if you have a large parking lot, to boost the local generation of clean electricity, which a lot of the high schools I've seen going by have also implemented. And then public utilities, post-entitlement phase permit applications, new construction. The PUC, which is the Public Utilities Commission, requires enforcing the rules governing the extension of service by a gas or electrical corporation to new residential, commercial, agriculture, and industrial customers. Current law requires an electrical or gas corporation to permit a new or existing customer who applies for extension of service. And those are the ones that are being watched right now. That's it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Karen. All right, so moving on to a Q&A session. I know Diane had a comment. Anyone has questions or comments that they want to share at this point, we would welcome them. Diane says, I don't have a question as much as an encouragement that having established CID members talk at these marketing events would encourage younger designers to sign up. I agree. Yes.
Completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So.
And again, if it's something that would be helpful that we post when events are happening or when CCIDC is participating, and then ask for volunteers, we can absolutely do that. I know we have reached out to people in the past, sometimes successfully, sometimes not. But definitely the more CIDs that want to participate and share the benefits of being a CID, it is always welcome. There's a couple hands raised. I noticed Joan and Rochelle both have their hands raised. Do you have comments or questions? Is that something you could type in, or do we want
Joan, if you want to go ahead and unmute and ask your question really quick, we can give you a couple minutes. Are you there, Joan? All right. Well, Rochelle, did you have anything else? Tracy made a comment, until there's a demand in the hiring market for CIDs, there won't really be a significant increase in CIDs, just your opinion. That is definitely a piece of it, but I think it also comes down to we can educate, we can do so much to educate, but it's really about taking ownership of the Title Act. And if you're a CID, using that to promote yourself, we always will do as much as we can to expand that that database, but it really does come down to, are you using your CID as an appellation? Are you, what are you doing to promote yourself as a CID, and what's the difference in the standards of someone who is not a CID versus someone who, got a business card and saying, I'm a designer. So we will continue to expand as much as we can. But if, again, anybody who has ideas and thoughts like this, we welcome you to join us and help us come up with creative new ideas to expand that information out there. Anything else? Joan, did you want to? Yeah. The bottom line to professional interior designers is, why do I need CID? Again, it's a Title Act that differentiates you from the person that goes down and gets a business card. I mean, there's just, you've earned a title, you've proven your education, your experience, and you've been tested on California codes and regulations. So I think within that, Joan, we'll try it one more time to allow you to talk. Do you want to unmute? If not, we can move on. Marlene says that it helps to have CID designation when applying for trade accounts with manufacturers. Robert Bocabella said, I was part of the original CIDs. I'm 76 and still working. Yes, we're glad you're still around and
We
still
are.
certified. Okay, Joan put her hand down. All right, we can move on, I think.
Rose, are you taking care of this? Is there anything here that we need to present or discuss?
Yeah, I think Catherine, if you, Catherine Hampton, our new board member, welcome. We're so happy to have you. She had a recent article in Voyage LA. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Catherine, and just kind of give us an idea of the shout out that you gave us?
Well, I'm always, I'm a huge proponent, obviously, of educating the public about the difference between hiring a certified interior designer or any other design professional that doesn't focus on interior design specifically and have that expertise. So I was in an interview for an article, and so I just included in that that I'm excited about working with the CCIDC in, advancing our profession. So super excited about that, and would love to, help as much as we can really change the knowledge base. I think a lot of times, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I've worked at big firms and I've had my own firm, and a lot of times what happens is you've got an architecture firm that just works directly with the furniture dealer, and that's how they do their interiors. And there's not a lot of work with the end users and understanding, what the client really needs. And there's, a lot of, a lot of stuff that's not really taken care of the way it should be professionally. So I'm excited to see what I can do now that I'm in this kind of the last phase of my career. I've seen enough, and I want to really fight for it. So thank you for letting me be here. I'm excited.
We're excited.
And then other thing that's amazing about Catherine is she is, even before the opportunity to become a board member, she's helped out with the IDEX revision. She also helped out with the Uniform Plan Commission. She's getting in and doing that. So again, I think she can attest to, if you want to make a difference, getting involved is the easiest way to do it. So she's kind of a perfect example of that. We also had a question if anybody would like to participate in in LA NEWH regional trade show on February 23rd. And Linda Sullivan was involved in IBD in 1975. Wow, that's amazing, which is now IBD, and another group got together and made IIDA, correct? Yep. So great. Catherine, or please reach out to me directly. I sent you my email, and we'd love to see about participating.
We have raised hand, Rose. Adriana.
Adriana Curry. I don't have a reason. Oh, sorry. No, I don't have a raised hand here.
Oh, okay.
If you have a question, it's a little easier if you can just type it into the question box, because we see it faster. Hands I'm not seeing as fast. Karen says, Catherine, congratulations, and look forward to reading your interview. Okay. There's information here about the LA Basin chapter event that we'll be attending. It's a great event, and again, it represents so many building officials in the Los Angeles area. We have a question. How do you feel about interior design programs calling themselves architectural interior design?
Or interior
architecture.
architecture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interior architecture. It's illegal. Don't do
I
it.
have an opinion. There's no such thing as an interior architect.
There you go.
I believe Sac State's program is called that.
Is it
Yeah.
really now?
There's a lot of them popping up, and
Yeah.
how does the AIA feel about that? Because I thought that word was illegal.
Yeah, these words are just copyrighted by the Board of Architecture. If anybody use it, they're gonna be in trouble.
Mhm.
Oh.
They're gonna
What
fine
the
for-
information
it's
that-
gonna be letter for the first time, and then it's 3,500 for the second time.
Ooh.
I believe
I've seen fines as big
$8,000
as $6,000.
$8,000 or a jail for the third time.
The information that we've gotten so far regarding this is that large architectural firms want you to have an interior architecture degree because that's what's being offered, not because of that's what they want as an interior architect, because it's a design program. It's not an interior architecture. The only one allowed to use that title is a licensed architect. And unfortunately, these programs do not educate you to the level or the ability to be able to go out and then take the exam and become an architect. So they're doing their students a disservice, but a lot of these programs are being taught by architects, and that's kind of how they get around it. And the architects don't want to teach design, so they think it elevates the profession if they say that, but they're really just creating an illegal nightmare. And when students find out that they can't use that, we have some students that have gotten a master's in interior architecture and they can't use that title, and it's really caused a point of contention with them. And until the students actually stand up and fight back about that's not going to change. So, and that's the conversations that we've had with AIA and California Architects Board. It really just needs to come down to the students putting their foot down and saying this is a disservice to us and a problem. So
Should we take a position to assist that in the schools?
Yes, absolutely.
definitely. And we have a group that we have put together, but we haven't had any recent meetings, but we need to continue is in working with the educators to educate them and help them through that. So somebody says, if a designer is past the NCIDQ, will be that accepted by CID these days? So Patricia, that's we accept a whole group of national exams as part of becoming certified. It's not the required exam. So we've made a path that's easier, faster, and less expensive for those people who have NCIDQ, CQRID, and a few other exams to be able to apply for certification. Everyone has to take the IDEX exam because it's the only exam that tests on California codes and regulations. So that's to answer that question. It is very illegal. It's illegal to use that. And we have examples in our presentation of people that have used the term interior architect unknowingly, and they've been fined as minimum of $1,000, but I've seen up to $20,000, depending on how much you use it. If you're putting on your website, if you're putting it in printed materials. So if you're sending students out there thinking they could call themselves an interior architect, they do it and then they get a $20,000 fine. I think that's just criminal. The fines are posted if you go to the California Architects Board website, and under their enforcement issues or enforcement actions, you can look through there because it changes all the time. But you can find it and see that. Just look up the word interior or interior architect, and it'll come up with a group of people that have been fined for that.
It's not just interior architect, it's also architectural drawings. You can't even say that.
Yeah, correct. So and as far as how much the fine is, that's really up to the Architects Board, how much the fines are. We don't know what, I don't think that there's like a, if you have this, it's this much. If you do this, I think it's subjective to them.
even it's really important when you guys have a drawing ready to submit to the city on your sheet index. Usually by the mistake, they want to say architectural drawing, structural drawing, mechanical drawing. Never ever say, please, architectural drawing. Just label interior drawings.
Mhm.
All right. I see that the fact that it's illegal, but in your experience applying for commercial interior jobs with the large architectural firms, they're asking for interior architecture degrees. They can ask for that degree, but you're working for architects when you're at those large firms. So they use their title and you don't use your title. They just want you to have the education. So it's again, until the students stand up and say something, it's not going to change. Yeah, people thinking that they graduated with a degree in interior architecture, but not being able to use it without trouble. Okay.
And
Next,
I'll add one more. I went to Louisiana Tech 100 years ago, and we started out in the architecture department for the first 2 years. And then the second 2 years, we went into interior design. So my degree is a interior design fine arts degree. And the architects went into, the structure and keeping rain off of roofs and things like that, while we went into the interior. So I think if we talk about what we do is more of a specialized knowledge of how spaces work, and really fight for that. I think that's
yeah.
Well, and it's interesting because I went to Cal State Sacramento and my degree is in interior design. And at the time we were an accredited program. So now they've changed the name of the degree and they're no longer accredited because they've dropped their accreditation. I think their focus is in the completely wrong place. But
how have they changed it to make it not accredited? What's the name of it?
They've dropped their accreditation, meaning they did not renew
Re-up it.
their accreditation. Yeah.
They're
Whether
not
they're still
reteaching.
teaching those same classes, I don't know. I graduated way back when. But it's interesting because anyway.
We should talk about all this. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Moving on, Rose, back to you.
The Women Leaders in Code Enforcement is having their symposium March 21st through 23rd. It's going to be in San Diego at the Bahia Resort. We had Cici Muela come and speak to us during the last meeting about this. And it's something that we got involved with last year. It was kind of, I don't want to say a fluke, but we were asked if we would like to participate. We said yes. And what it's turned into is just amazing. It's a group of women. The group is based here in California, but it's building officials, it's code enforcement officers, it's women industry partners that all come together to promote each other, to work together and to learn and network. There's a monthly meeting that they have it's called Coffee with My Girlfriends. It's attended by male, female, everything in between. But it's empowering. It helps you to think outside the box. And we're so fortunate to be able to be a part of it in their symposium again this year. I just ask you to look this up, WLCE, and I think it's WLCE.net or com. Anyhow, look it up, Women Leaders in Code Enforcement. It's an amazing group, and they just, great ideas, great people. I can't say enough about it, and I'm glad that we are able to participate again this year.
Awesome. Thank you, Rose. Do we want to address, so ourselves says that they're interested to be a part of promoting our organization to students and surrounding colleges. That would be amazing, and we would welcome you. Would welcome you to join our marketing meeting this coming Friday, and reaching out to Rose, maybe having a conversation Diane says the same thing happened to new designers that think they can do general contracting, i.e. charge and manage subs because they know codes, yet they can't. Yes, this is a huge thing. And I personally know a lot of residential interior designers, because that's my focus, that do this. And I am constantly telling them, no, no, no. The minute you do that, you're acting as a general and you cannot do that. So yeah, I mean, these are the things that CCIDC is testing on, is making sure that our designers are knowledgeable on what they can and cannot do. And it's not just structural, right? I mean, there's more to it. So thank you for bringing that up. Moving on to my report. So our goals for 2023, obviously, number one is the language amendment. Rose spoke to that. Very important, and I feel like we are so close, and Rose has been working diligently on this. So we're getting there. We are getting there, but that is definitely one of our number one focuses for this year. Next is increased revenue. This is something that we've been working on for many years, and we realized the only way to do this is to increase the number of CIDs and increase the number of people taking the IDEX and the number of people renewing their certification. So again, that sort of comes back to marketing and getting the word out. So and then next is diversity and inclusion. We realize, I mean, granted, we have a pretty diverse panel on our board, which is amazing, and I'm very proud of that. But we look at just the profession as a whole, and it could use some improvement. So that's something that we will be looking into tackling, trying to work with in this year. Next is an in-person annual meeting. I think we're looking to do that in June. Is that correct, Rose? Yeah. So we have been Zoom together on Zoom only for the past several years. It's been a plus because it saved us money. It's been a minus because we're not in person. So we will be doing our annual meeting in person in June. Location and schedule TBD. And then finally, expanding our outreach. I decided to serve on the board and sit in as chair because my personal passion is to reaching out and to make sure that we are raising up the next generation of designers properly, that we're leaving them with more than we were given, right? And so that's why I'm doing this, and really want to make sure that we continue building on that, and that's getting out to schools, that's getting out to the young professionals, that's making sure that they have the knowledge that they need to excel much faster, and be more successful. So that is my chair report. I know there's a comment from Robert. George, you got this right on the head. CID helps our members from not being fined or sued for running the trade through our books. Use this when promoting joining us. Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot that I think CCIDC does and promotes and supports that is more than just our certification test. So yeah. Thank you, Robert. Let's move on to unfinished business. Rose, is this you or me?
Yeah, I think some of this we kind of already covered a little bit, but just to say, regarding the IDEX exam update, for any of you who are not familiar, the last 2 years, we worked really hard on revising and revamping the entire IDEX exam. So that we have 3 cycles completed now. With that, the cut score has been changed from 102 to 105. And that process, I know there's a few of you on here that have worked with us on that, but it was a long process. Once all of the questions were revised and updated and there's new domains to the exam, we had to sit down with the psychometricians and do some serious testing to figure out why the exam, what the cut score should be and why. And so that process is complete. Right now, the task force from ICC is working on revising and reviewing the questions in the codes related section. And it really is just making sure that those questions are all still relevant because of the new codes that have come through. We've already had one meeting for that, and we'll have another one this week. Hopefully they'll finish it because there's like 96 questions that they need to review and make sure that everything's still copacetic. So they're working really hard on that and determining any updates that need it. You know, so far, no questions need to be removed. There were a couple of updates to some questions, and then there's definitely updates to the reference material. So we expect that to be all done and complete, and the changes code wise on the May 2023 exam starting then. The sunset review, as you all know, that we went through that last year and the process is done. Bill SB 1437, Senate Bill 1437 extends our sunset date from the 2023 to 2027. So we got the 4 years in. And it also removed the section in there 5811 that asked us to complete something by 2008, which we already had done. And as I mentioned earlier, is the proposed language changes didn't get in under the sunset review, but we're going to be working with ledge staff to find a bill to get those put in there. And again, the Uniform Plan Submission Committee has done a great job with this. So that's really all.
All right, sorry. Moving on to new business. Linda Thomas, who's been on our board for several years, has stepped down, and we just like to acknowledge Linda and thank her. I know she's not here today, but with everybody here, just thank her for her years of service. And we appreciate her being a part of CCIDC and the board. So thank you. And now we're going to move on. Oh, we have a Q&A session. Great. If anybody has any questions or comments, this would be the time. So we'll have that open for everybody. Or not. We can always move on.
Do we have any pools?
No, we
No.
did not do any polls this meeting, since we're also doing our strategy session and having multiple Q&As.
If there's no questions, George, maybe we could take like a 5-minute break.
Yep.
Just to give her a moment to stand up and shake out.
Perfect. Yes. Why don't we do that? Let's see. It is what time are we now? Sorry, it's 11:17. So why don't we meet back here 11:22? Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Thank you.
All right, we'll just wait for everybody to rejoin and we can continue.
While we're waiting, Deborah has a question about health insurance for independent CID designers. Is there any recommendations? I don't know of any companies that do that. We use a payroll agency, and they were able to give us information because we're small corporations. So I would, if you have that, I would start there. But I don't know of any specifically for CIDs or that cater to interior designers. That's something that we can definitely look into. And if we find more information, we can provide it at the next meeting if that's acceptable. And then Robert wants to know, how do you get CEU credits for today's meeting? So after the meeting, we get a report from Zoom telling us who all attended, how long they attended, and then you'll receive an email from us probably on Monday that tells you how to put that information into your CID account to get CEU credit for it. It'll give you a code and the hours that you get credit for. So that's that is how you get.
Just one thing, Rose, about insurance. I don't know about health, but I know the source in New Jersey that they do a liability insurance, error and omission, and general liability for interior designers and CIDs. They have a
We have that information on our website as well about errors and omissions. But if you want to give that information to me, Hutan, I can also put. We don't promote these companies as far as saying use it or whatever, but we do put the information out there that you can get it. It would be available.
My point was they usually, those companies, they don't have a health insurance.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Two different things. I didn't want to.
Lisa says that she uses Beasley Insurance via a broker, and Arcel says HISCOX, Hiscox. Again, if you guys can email this information to me, I'm happy to put it on the website for more information. We like to provide as much information as possible for our CIDs where they can find, this stuff. Okay, I think we're mostly all back.
I think we're back, yeah.
So we're just going to do a general SWOT analysis, kind of go over some of the things that we see as strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats for CCIDC, and any input anyone has, if they'd like to put it into the comment section, we'll definitely include that in our report when we put this together. Strengths that CCIDC has, things that we do particularly well. I mean, we're the only Title Act for interior designers in California. There is no one like us. We're not a professional organization. We're not a club or group. We don't have membership. You're conferred with a title once you become certified. So we are the only one of our group like us in California. So that's definitely one of our strengths and advantages. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I agree. I think that the fact that we focus just on professionals and we don't have furniture dealers and other groups in, it gives us a level of discussion that we can talk about what really is important to the profession. Makes a big difference.
Right. And we also, but we do work with all of those professional organizations. We represent everyone. That's something else I think is a strength. We are not limited by one group or another. We represent interior designers that belong to all kinds of different organizations. And we also represent those people who don't belong to anything. There's people out there who are like, I just don't see the need or whatever. So they, you know, we represent everyone in that way. So I think that that's important. I think that another advantage or an asset is the people that represent, represent the board. We have a great diversity there, not only in background experience, we have people who are public members who don't have anything to do with interior design, but they bring a different perspective as a public member, different backgrounds. The SWOT analysis, once we create our report, it will be provided online as well, yes, on our website. Again, it's something, this is a process, so we'll start the process now. We'll put together a report. At the next meeting, the report will be voted on, and then it will be put onto the website. So yes, to answer Bonnie's question, it will be available. Are there anything, I think our experience, between everyone that's involved with this group and our other groups, we have a huge amount of experience on our side. We have people in our Uniform Plan Submission Committee that, are FIIDA members who have been around, like Robert and the other people, Linda, from the beginning, for years and years and years. So the amount of experience that we have involved in this, and we open our doors to everyone to be involved. So the experience is great. Our financial reserves, I think that compared to when I started 5 years ago as an executive director, there were times our reserves were in the negative, and the executive director at the time, there were times that he was unable to take a paycheck because we just didn't have reserves. And now our reserves are upwards of $60,000, so we don't have to go through that. Some of the issues that we faced in the past, we had a time period where a lot of the people who were certified retired, a large group, and we weren't prepared for that. So I think that we've really taken a focus, this board and others have taken a focus on being prepared for those things. We know that those people are coming up on, the people that started in the beginning in the 90s when we started are now getting to retirement age, and we have to be prepared for that. So we've really worked hard at making sure that we do that. Granted, last year we had a negative year, but that's one out of, since 2017, that's the first time. So I think that we're working to bolster our reserves. And I think, continuing with the marketing and getting out there and getting the information out to more people will help us, but also things like improving the IDEX exam and the language changes. All of those things will really make a huge difference in the attraction to becoming certified. So, and I think that, value, we've talked about the value, but price, value, quality, we try really hard not to raise our fees unless we absolutely need to. We did raise them last year for the first time in 5 years. So we always, when it comes down to it and we need to make those changes, we look at what else can we offer, what else have we offered before we just make a blanket change. We started with things like the emeritus status for those people who are semi-retired. We went from offering you could only get a rubber stamp. That was the only way you could do it. Now there's different options. You could get no stamp. If you don't need the stamp, you can get a digital stamp, the rubber stamp, both stamps. So we looked at expanding our options versus just raising prices. So I'm sorry that it looked at a question. So I think that we look at the value, price, and quality of what we have. on a regular basis. And that's part of what the SWOT process is are we doing what we need to? That's part of what the sunset review process is. Are we providing a quality service to the people that we serve?
Which we are, and I would just add that, I mean, the price value quality, I mean, is right there. And I believe, I mean, our pricing is very reasonable. I think it's an absolute deal.
Well, one of the things that we look at too, when we did the price change last year,
Yeah.
was we looked at contractors, how much they pay. We looked at architects, which are people that have a, you know, they're granted their Practice Act, but we looked at where they are. We can't be more than them. We can't, because I know that there's professional organizations out there that can and do, because they provide other services that we are unable to provide. So their pricing can be different, but we need to make sure that we're in line and fair and equitable with the people that are in the same situation that we are. So that's definitely something that we take a big look at when we make those decisions. We don't want to be charging more than those. So Linda was an IBD with Rainey Sherman. And so yeah, it's been around for a long time. Experience from Karen says, experience is under both strengths and weaknesses. Yes, it can be a strength or a weakness, your experience, if we don't have the experience to back up what we're doing and saying that that can be a weakness. But we put it in both just because it's a topic of discussion. And experience shortcomings, certainly, yeah, definitely. So again, let's, does anybody have anything to add under our strengths? Anybody in the audience or anybody on the board? Okay, then we'll move on to weaknesses. So any of our disadvantages, again, it's just getting the word out there, making people understand, building officials, making them understand what we're allowed to do, what we're able to do, and educating them. And that's something that we work hard with our memberships to CALBO, ICC, and the outreach and networking we do with all of those organizations. We're working on it. We understand that we're at a disadvantage with some of those groups, but it's something that we're continuously working on.
I would say that's probably one of our biggest, if not our biggest weakness, is and granted, this isn't all on us, but it's the lack of education and understanding by the building officials, that they don't even know what we're able and capable of doing because they're not being educated by their people. Right? It's not falling on us, it's really falling on their institutions, on where they're working. And that's sort of a great opportunity for us too, right? So that weakness turns into an opportunity, is how do we reach out? How do we educate more? So go on. Correct. From there.
And that's another thing that the language changes that we're proposing and putting in our bill work to as well, because right now the comments that we have gotten from building officials in the past is that, you know, as our language reads, it's kind of ambiguous as to, it says we can work under 5537 and 5538 of the Architects Practice Act exceptions, but what is that exactly? And so the language that we have is much more clarifying. These are the things that interior designers do and have been doing for this many years. We don't want to expand our scope. We just want to clarify what that scope is. So right now it's a weakness because they don't know that, but that's something we're working to make an opportunity again too. Yeah. Deanie says a strength is our code of ethics, which I completely agree. How many other interior designers who don't have certification or other things can say that they're held to a strict code of ethics, and there's someone that when they break those code of ethics can be reported to and they'll held accountable. So yes, definite strength. A gap in our capabilities. I think that goes back to the language that we currently have versus the language that we're proposing for changes. Being able to define what those capabilities are and what we're able to do. Cash flow, again, that's just, I think, really speaking to things like, going through downfalls in the economy, going through when I first started the downfall in the economy, a lot of people who were residential interior designers kind of changed focus, and a lot of them went to commercial design because there was work in commercial design and there wasn't work in residential so much because people weren't spending money there. And we had to be able to support that and educate people as we could. Now in the pandemic, it kind of went the opposite way because people weren't at offices, people were at home more. A lot of people couldn't get the work in commercial, so they went back to residential. And so again, that's just kind of a gap in capabilities and the change. So to change to the cash flow, I'm sorry, that we need to prepare for, and we need to be prepared. And I think with our buffer that we have, we were able to weather some of this storm. Suppliers, really, we don't have a lot in the way of suppliers. Just we've gotten away from a lot of the paper things that we used to do, sending things out via paper, a lot more binders and board binders, and we've put all of that online. So our suppliers, one of the issues that we are facing is the cost for the actual rubber stamp continues to go up exponentially. So we've tried to find new suppliers for that. Really, we're at the best place that we could be. It's just part of the game that we will have to look at how is that affecting the service that we provide. And we already talked about experience. Areas to improve. As we've talked about marketing, getting the word out there, educating, we definitely need to continue with that. So that's something that we ask for support on. If anyone has any other areas they'd like us to discuss, if the board has anything else, we definitely are always looking in ways to improve. We don't want to stay stagnant. We don't want to assume that just because we're the only board that certifies that we're good. We're not. We want to grow. We want to learn. We want to be able to work with everyone. I happy to hear more ways.
I would just add that we're in a really big state that covers a lot of territory, and there's a lot of designers in our state that are spread out. So it's really weakness also, and opportunity is how do we reach all of these people throughout the whole state, right? And how do we share what our message is and what the benefit is? And I know, again, that's something that we've been working on and that we will continue working on. But we have a really big state with a lot of territory that we're trying to reach. So that is something that we will continue to improve on.
Okay. Robert says promoting the value of hiring a CID should definitely be on the SWOT analysis. I used to always include printed CCIDC brochures and understand it was expensive to print. I gladly pay for printed brochures. This is a win-win. It promotes and educates the public as well as boosts my credentials. Just to let Robert know, that information is still downloadable on our website. You can now provide a link, that same information that used to come in a brochure. If you'd like to go and print it yourself and put it in something, or send the link to the people that you're trying to educate, we have it still available. It's just now in a little bit of a different format. So it's still there. It just looks a little different. Causes to loss of sales. And again, we go back to the economy changing, from one to another. That causes it, again, people retiring, and then also not getting as many people in. And this goes back to educating people, educating students, speaking at schools, speaking at interior design firms and professional organizations, and working together with those people. And I think that will help us to curb some of the losses in sales that we've had. Is there anything else under the weaknesses category. Board. Audience.
Mhm. Diane asks, do we know how many designers are practicing in California versus other states? Also, what percentage are CID versus ASAD or not part of an organization? Rose could probably speak to that. CID versus ASID, you could be both. So you could be an ASID professional member and a CID. You can be an IIDA member. Remember that ASID and IIDA, those are, for lack of a better word, those are professional clubs. CCIDC is not a club, right? And being certified is not that you're a club member. But Rose, do you want to speak to the numbers of designers, etc.? Do we have that? Do we have those kind of analytics?
We have some, but again, the information that we have really, and this is something I was thinking about too, the information that we have is really only what's reported to us by our CIDs. We did look recently when we were doing our sunset review process, we did look at the numbers of people based off of like what the Job Corps was reporting, CIDs in California, or not CIDs, interior designers in California, but we can post that information. I'll have to look back and see what it is, but he's right in the fact that we have a lot of CIDs who are ASID. We have the number of, I wouldn't say we have a greater number of one group or another versus non. I would say we have just as many people reporting that they're not a member of any organization versus as many people as are. And we have some people that belong to several organizations. So we can pull that information up again and post it, and it might be in the sunset review if I remember correctly, George, when we did this. So
Right.
and if it's not reported to us, you know, we get there's on our CID account, there's a place to report if you have a national exam, when you took it, what's your certificate number, or do you belong to a professional organization? And some people fill it out and some people don't. So the information that we have is only as accurate as the people providing it. And the information about which groups, we also had a group of how many people were professional organization members that were professional versus like allied associate or I forgot what the other terms are.
Right.
That number was a staggering difference as far as, you know, being members of an organization and being that sort of thing. We were able to find that information out. So we can look into it, pull that again, but the information that we have is only as good as what's provided to us by the CIDs. Somebody asked if we can provide postcards promoting CCIDC. Again, that's one of those things that we can create one online and you'd be able to print it, but for us being able to print that sort of thing, that it doesn't make sense in our budget to be able to do it at that time, but we're happy to provide something that you could print or send out, or a QR code for people to look things up, that sort of thing. And being eco-savvy is kind of a huge push as well. So areas to improve. I think that this is stuff that we were just talking about, is changing the language, things that we're working on. So recognizing the areas of weaknesses and where to improve, and then turning that into an opportunity so that we kind of we already did speak to that. New segments, you know, the commercial designation is a newer segment that we looked into. The people in the commercial industry talked to us about a way to promote commercial designers and differentiate. And so that's something that we met with all of the professional organizations, had another strategic planning meeting and came up with that. And now it's something that we're hoping to get put into our actual title act, is the commercial designation. So that's a new segment. Industry trends, they change all the time. Again, goes back to going from commercial to residential and back and forth again. We just have to keep an eye out to see what's happening and be able to support that. I don't know that there's anything else that there are trends that we need to be aware of. George, do you?
No. I mean,
Okay.
sorry, other than sort of trends of communicating, right, with people, right, social media trends or anything like that. I mean, I see our opportunities again sort of as twofold. It's improving on fine-tuning, honing our messaging, and then disseminating that information. Right. I mean, those are the two big opportunities that we have to improve on.
Right. New products and new innovations. And again, that goes back to when we were looking to change pricing, going from having only one option with the rubber stamp, no matter what, to what it is our designers told us they needed. Some people like, I don't use that, I don't want to waste that. So we changed and we created products. The commercial designation is a new product per se. The new IDEX exam, these are all newer changes that provide new products, and that's, you know, we don't have a product for sales other than that. And the same with new innovations, you know, the emeritus status for those people. I was noticing that when we had that huge influx of people that were retired, some of them were like, you know, I'm going to be retiring, so I'm not going to renew because it's 2 years, and we didn't have an option. So met with the board, created an option for the emeritus status, and that kind of addressed all of those people who are in that in-between state. And, you know, like, I'm not going to be doing CEUs. Okay, well, how can we help and how can we benefit? And that's when that was created. Glenda Garcia wanted to know, how do we reach out to all this tile showrooms, tile stores, flooring companies to have their designers have actually studied to be a designer? You know, that's a good question, Glenda. I don't have the answer. Does somebody else have that?
No, because I mean, there's no law saying you have to have a certain kind of education to call yourself a designer. I mean,
Right.
that's you know, that's one of the unfortunate things about our profession in this country, right? Is that anybody can say, I'm a designer, I'm an interior designer, I'm a decorator, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, that is technically protected by the First Amendment, being, you know, describes what you're doing, not your credentials. And that's why being a certified interior designer is more, you know, proves that you have the education, experience, and exam to, and held to a strict code of ethics. So yeah, going after people that use the word designer is not beneficial to us. It doesn't do anything for us. So where the, you know, certified is where we need to focus on.
yeah.
Okay. Key partnerships, again, working with, you know, having the conversation with all of the professional organizations, changing the way we work and operate together. In the past, there's been dissension, whatever, going past that, working as closely as we can. And I, again, recommend to every person out there, get involved. If you're having, you know, issues with your building officials or whatever, getting involved with your local ICC chapter. You have no idea the amount of FaceTime and networking and things. I had building officials call last year. I got COVID and couldn't go to the cowboy. I had building officials calling me, asking me where I was. You know, it really does. You create bonds and relationships with these people. So when we have people call and say, I couldn't get my plan submitted at this area, I'm like, let me speak to that building official. I've been able to do that on numerous occasions to get their plans in. Other people are like, some of the building officials are like, oh, that person's new, I need training. would you come out and train our building department on who this is? You know, it's just a great experience to be able to get your face in front of those people. Calbo is the same. AIA is changing some of their thought processes on what interior design as a profession is like. It's a conversation that we continue to have and build that relationship so that we can continue working on that conversation. So I think those are really our key partnerships, and again, working with all the professional organizations and helping. Lisa says it's very important to be involved. Relationships are everything. That is how I was introduced to ICC San Diego and nominated to be part of their board as well. So I think those partners. Anybody else have any other ideas? Has there been any?
I just want to say that you know, anybody that is on this meeting, if you're a member of a professional organization, ASID, IIDA, NKBA, anything, you know, get involved with your board, get involved with your organization, you know, we're always happy to partner with any organization to either provide education on what it means to be a CID, what it takes to become a CID. That is obviously what our focus is, but I would just recommend anybody just get involved with your board and the programming, and it just makes for a stronger profession.
Yeah, we all represent the interior design profession in California, whether you focus on one section or the whole section. We working together with one voice is the only way change is going to happen. So we're happy to work with whoever and have conversations, and some of them are easy and some of them are not, but that's okay as long as we're open to having those conversations and sitting down and working together. Then that's how we get change to happen. Marlene asked if there's been any marketing to major real estate agencies who clients might need an educated professional interior designer. We really have not, but that's something that we're open to for suggestions for the marketing committee, is reaching out to those organizations as well.
And Marlene, let me just add, if you have an in to some major real estate organization that we could market to, please share that information with us.
Adriana wants to know if it's practice for board members to approach their respective building departments to inform them of CID and educate them, such as that I've done. Yes, definitely. I mean, Hutan is a member of the LA Basin chapter, so I'm not the only one out there doing it. I do a lot of it, and Julissa. So yes, we definitely outreach and use our board members for that. We need somebody in the Sacramento area that's, I'm looking at you, Patricia, that will be willing to attend the Sacramento ICC chapters. But yeah, this is all a group effort.
Not even on the meeting, but also in daily basis practices.
Definitely.
All of our companies and all the CIDs, each submittal package to the city is having our name up for any building officials, plan checkers, outside consultants, each one. As much as you start submitting to the city, each drawing is representing us, CCIDC.
Right. Bonnie says, I understand and appreciate our time commitment, but would it be reasonable to consider a quarterly meeting schedule? These meetings are very heartening. There's only 2 meetings. We actually have 3 meetings a year. We have January, June, and September. So there's 3 meetings a year. So technically, and because our board is all volunteer, I think the time commitment is sufficient, but there are 3 meetings per year, and they're always posted ahead of time. So hopefully, again, it's always January, the first Saturday in June, and September. January, depending on the schedule, changes dates, but it's always a Saturday, so people usually are not working, but requiring more of that from a time commitment. We have monthly meetings in different areas. Again, marketing has a monthly meeting, the Uniform Plan Submission Committee has a meeting. Our educational committee, when it gets up and stronger, will be having monthly meetings. So there's other ways to connect than just the board meetings. So, there's ways to get involved and get this done, not just in a board meeting. Each county has a board of realtors. That's again, that's something that we could use at our marketing committee meeting. So we can move on to the threats. Again, this is stuff that we have discussed, the economy movement. We see it changing, and people a couple years ago were at home more and getting everything done, and now they're kind of moving away from that. So those are just things that we try and keep an eye on as best as we can. Some of it happens without our any forewarning, but who knew that COVID was going to happen. So but we watch it. It is something we monitor, and we try to plan accordingly. Again, with our budget, you could see that we tried to just keep it reined in. Obstacles faced. Do you have any input, George, on that?
I mean, obstacles, that we have faced is the pandemic, past recessions. I mean, obviously we look sort of historically, and recessions, and especially under the sort of commercial hospitality design markets, those tend to be the first to be hit. And so what we see are then those designers that are certified, that are practicing more in the commercial sector, maybe they're getting laid off, so then they're not renewing their certification. So that's correct. Obviously, where there's an opportunity there is to sort of market to them the fact that, and we know that certified interior designers make more money than non-certified, and can make more money, and that definitely looks good on your resume and speaks to your qualifications. But yeah, going back to threats, I would say, not the biggest one, but one of the major ones that we really don't have any control over is going to be any sort of economic recession.
Okay.
Yeah.
As far as competitor action, there's some clarification I think we need there. As we spoke to in the past, there have been issues with things said about certified interior designers. There was something posted all over about it being self-certification, and we're just a private company, and different things like that. Those actions are things that have affected us in the past, but getting the information out there on what we really are, what we really do, who we really are, the fact that we have government oversight. The difference is the payments that we take in come directly from the people we serve, but that doesn't mean that we don't have to answer to the government here in California. We do that, but we don't believe that other organizations are our competitor. We're not competing for the same type of thing. If you look at certification kind of as the baseline, you get your certification, your title is recognized by the state of California, and from there you branch out. You branch out to, I'm into kitchen and baths, so I'm going to join NKBA. I'm really into residential, so I'm going to take the NCIDQ and I'm going to join ASID. We encourage that. We encourage you to find what it is that you do best and seek that out. And so as far as it being a competitor, we don't view it in that manner. Am I forward, or are we correct on that?
You're right on there, Rose. I mean, I understand where this is coming from, sort of as a sort of traditional business or organization, somebody that's selling something, right? We're not selling anything. So I would replace competitors with sort of outside or other organization actions, right? And that's why we try and keep such a close relationships with the professional organizations out there so that they understand what it is that we're doing, what it is that we're providing, what our messaging is, and really how that's a benefit to them, right? I mean, it's shocking to look at the statistics from these professional organizations on how few of their membership are professional members, how few of the ASID membership are ASID members and not allied members, right? And the same with IIDA. I don't know much about the NKBA, but I'm assuming it's the same. It's such a small percentage in comparison to the overall membership. And so the great thing about what we're able to do is to also help those organizations with that by promoting, becoming a CID.
Correct.
Yeah.
Linda says, it was said a few years ago, there are 750 graduates in interior design every year in Southern California or California. There are not enough positions available. I used to speak at Cal State Long Beach, FITM, and UCLA, et cetera, about other industry positions available. Many designers now work as sales representatives for manufacturers in the industry. It is important to keep our credentials as I have. And she's happy to assist with the marketing team. So,
Great, Linda.
And I'd be interested to see if that 750 number is still accurate with the loss of a lot of the different programs that are out there.
Right.
Political impacts, again, it's really just the sunset review and answering to that. We don't have any outside political impacts, fortunately. Environmental effects, again, I think that environmental wise, one of the things that when we bring this information to you about the different bills that are available out there, seeing how it plays, all of that plays together. So that's just a thought. Loss of key staff. Again, we had done really well with not losing one, and then Carly left in August or September of this year, and we got Cameron. So I think the one thing that we do need to work on is a backup plan. I plan on being around for a while, but knock on wood, if something, heaven forbid, were to happen, we need to be prepared for losing, a staff member in that way, such as
Right.
myself, and determining market demand. I think the demand is there. We just need to be able to tap into it. We need to be able to determine who's out there, and this is all part of outreach. And these are just the SWOT analysis. We completed that. Things that the board, I think we need to work on together is our strengths to capitalize on available opportunities. And I think with the different groups that we have, we'll be able to do that. And then how will CCIDC's weaknesses prevent it from maximizing these opportunities? I think really it's just not knowing or not, keeping a blind eye that would cause us problems. But I think that we do a good job of recognizing that we have weaknesses and addressing them.
I'd like to add something to weaknesses. We are a volunteer board. We only have 2 paid employees. So, everybody else is volunteer. Everybody else, most of us are small business owners, or we're educators. So our time availability to this board and to this organization is limited. I would say that's a weakness, just is the time available to do everything that we want to do. So I think that's something that we should just be conscious of.
Right. And I think that the other thing that we need to point out too is the boards on different professional organizations can operate differently than we can as well.
Absolutely.
Because we have a set
That's
of
very cool.
guidelines that we're, the Bagley-Keene Act, we're held to that, to, different things. We can't, as a 501c3, we're not allowed to lobby. So there are things that some people often will expect from our board that are not reasonable because of what we are and the confines of how we're allowed to operate. So I think everyone recognizing that, but it doesn't mean that the people who are certified can't take it another step further. They can join these groups, they can help, do the different things. So recognizing what our differences to other professional organizations are, and what we can and can't do is key to understanding weaknesses versus strengths.
Yes. Thank you.
And we have a Tracy says, thank you to the board. We appreciate your efforts. Melissa agrees. Casey says, thank you for all that we do. We really appreciate that. And again, we're always trying to learn and grow. So get involved, and we're happy to continue. So we can move on to the next thing. Marlene, thank you. And these are just some of the things that we wanted to touch on, topics that we wanted to touch on. Can you change it, Cameron?
That one was the last one.
Oh, okay, sorry. So we've determined our strategic position, what our SWOT is, prioritizing our objectives. I think it's important that, one of the main things that we need to do is get the language in our Title Act strengthened. That's a huge priority. And from there, the marketing and outreach is next. That's definitely something. And working on is taking this information and putting together a strategic plan for the next year is something that we'll work on and then be able to present at the next meeting for a vote from the board and to put out for everyone else to understand where we are and to be able to execute our plan, how we're going to go forward from here. Some of the things that we came through from the last strategic planning meeting, we had to react in financial planning to COVID-19. We were able to secure PPP loans, and they've all been written off. So those are all done. We're still looking at ways to increase our revenue, changing our marketing plan to strengthen it with social media, sponsorships. That's something that we had touched on last time, looking at getting sponsors for some of the different events that we have, like sponsorships for the annual meeting, if we were able to hold it in person, sponsorships for some of the CEUs that we'd like to provide. So that's another opportunity for revenue that we could look at covering some of our costs versus, didn't mean revenue. Having the CEUs available at a couple of our board meetings, student outreach, how we're going to go about that, and outreach to professional organizations and interior design firms. Last year, we talked about the IDEX exam revision, so we can see that that's complete. And we're also working on the classes for the commercial designation that ICC, we work with them on. They're in the processes of updating those courses for the new codes, and those will be available in February. So also, we talked about our sunset review that was on the board last year for the strategic plan, and we've done that. We've gotten the legislation to extend our bill. We're just working on the language changes. Some of the other things we've worked with is LADBS, working with them to educate them, and that really is all part of our marketing plan. And what are some of the legal ramifications of in certain, it's not all building departments, but in some of the building departments, they don't allow CIDs to submit plans. It's not about accepting the plans, it's about submitting them. And if they don't do that, what are our legal rights and responsibilities going forward? Some more beneficial alliances. We got the NEWH now, the League of Cities. women in construction and the women leaders in code enforcement. Those are all things that we continue to work to strengthen those relationships. So that's kind of a overview of what happened last year.
Rose, can you speak to what League of Cities is for those
Certainly.
of us that?
So it's kind of a professional organization or group for the mayors in the state. And I think it would be beneficial to CCIDC to find an end to that. And we've talked about this before. I'd really like us to become a member. It's and this might be a way, it might something that we could look into the sponsorships for our membership, because it's in the tens of thousands of dollars to become, but educating the mayors of the cities, hey, in these areas, your building officials are not allowing our designers under the law to submit plans. Do you realize the ramifications of that? We have permit avoidance. We have, again, the legal aspects of it. So we just think it's important. It's an important platform that we'd like to be a part of.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? We have someone that wants to know if they're unable to volunteer, if they could donate to CCIDC. Definitely, we can send the information on that out, but it really, I think, Casey, doing that to a specific event versus just, we don't typically take just donations, but doing it to a specific, you could be a sponsor for our annual meeting, that sort of thing. So we'd be glad to send that information out to you. All right, I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Do we want to open up for any last final questions or comments? And if not, we will adjourn our meeting, but I'll give it a couple more seconds if anyone has any questions or comments. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here today. Of course, I want to thank the